Welcome back to Faye's Place, a podcast where dreamers have the liberty to dream. I'm your host, Phaedra, and I am so excited that we have this time to dream together. Living at the intersection of creativity, strategy, and relationships, today's guest knows how to spin a story and turn press into chart-topping moments. He is the unsung hero behind the biggest names in the music and entertainment industry, helping shape and protect the careers of Richard Pryor, Andre Crouch, Bette Midler, and Vanessa Williams, just to name a few. He is a publicist, manager, brand consultant, music supervisor, author, and live event film and television producer. Here to honor Black history and share his insights on how to sustain success, it's the one and only Mr. Ramon Hervey II. Thank you for stopping by Faye's Place, Mr. Hervey. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Freezing here in New York, but it's a pleasure to meet you and get a chance to talk to you during Black History Month. So thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me.
Oh, of course. Take us back to 5-year-old Ramon II. What did he dream of becoming?
You know, when I was a kid, I don't think I had a lot of, visions of or dreams at that age, or even like in my early teens. Probably the one thing I wanted to do most was I wanted to live long enough to be able to drive a car. That was it. For some reason, I wasn't sure how long I was going to live. So that was probably my first real thing. I just wanted to be 16 so that I could learn to, I could drive a car. And then, I think dreaming is something that needs to be part of your makeup as a person, that you just keep dreaming, because dreams don't always come true. And if they don't, you got to come up with other ones. So I've always been a facilitator of helping other people with dreams, but even for my own dreams, I think you just come up with new ones when the ones that you hope for don't end up happening.
Before you started your entertainment career, you were hired as the first Black steward for Pan Am Airways. How do you think that job helped you prepare for working in the music industry?
Just for correction, I was one of the first.
Okay.
I wasn't the first. I think at the time, this was in the early 70s, and what was happening at Pan Am, I was a flight attendant for Pan Am, and Pan Am had never hired any Black male, males at all. There were no males. It was all women. So I was part of the first male group of stewards that were hired in 1973. And of that, at that time, there was maybe a half dozen Black flight attendants who were male and Black. And that was probably the best experience I had ever. It was far greater influence on my life than anything I've done, to be honest, because I got a chance to travel the world and see it from a different perspective as a Black person. So I look back on that and I cherish that time. It was a fun job. Everybody was young, just a lot of fun times. The downside of it was I was a graduate. I had already graduated from college, and I didn't really go to college to be a waiter. And when people used to say, "What do you do?" I would say, "I'm a waiter in the sky." And they go, "What are you talking about?" I go, "Well, I'm a flight attendant, but in reality, you're a waiter." So I dealt with that because I didn't look at it as a long-term job, but I definitely I got a chance to live in London for 4 years. As a result of that, I was based in London, and so it really helped to shape and formulate a more worldly view of life for me at that time, and I'm forever indebted for that opportunity.
You also had a chance to serve people like Miles Davis and other celebrities, correct?
Yeah, I got a chance to. Miles Davis was one of my most memorable ones because the day that, when you fly on Pan Am, there's first class and there's economy, like most airlines. And for first class, they actually know the names of everyone. And so when you come on board, if you're working in first class, you can see the actual names of the people. Sometimes you'd recognize them, but when I came on there was a flight. I think we were in Tehran or something, and I was working first class for that leg of the trip. As there's supposed to be some famous jazz guy in first class, but he's acting very, very weird. And I said, "Oh, really? A famous jazz guy?" I said, "Well, let me see the passenger seating," and it was Miles Davis. And none of the people on the plane had who knew who Miles Davis was. And I had literally, like 3 weeks before that, I had been in LA and I saw Miles perform with Nina Simone. So I was a fan of his. And when I, got a chance, I told him, and he said that he was on with his hairdresser, and they were saying that their behavior was very erratic, and that you should keep an eye on them. So I went over to him and I said, "Mr. Davis, I'm going to be taking care of you, and I just wanted to give you a heads up that there's been some reports that your behavior, you and your friend here, are not, acting the way you're supposed to, and I want to, if I don't know what you're doing." And then he pulled me down and he said, "Well, they had done some drugs." So I said, "Well, you got to stop doing that,
Right.
on this leg, or they're going to kick you off." And
Right.
he was on his way to a concert. He was going to be performing. So I said, "I'll take care of you. You take care of me by not doing whatever you're doing. You don't have to give me the details, but just be calm." I'd hate to see you get kicked off the plane.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right?
So he was cool, and you know, the funniest thing was, I had just seen him. So if you've ever seen Miles Davis, a lot of times he never performed. Sometimes he would not look at the audience the whole time he was on stage. At my show that I saw him at in Los Angeles, he never, he played his back to the audience most of the time, and he didn't say anything. No talking, no nothing. And I asked, I said, "Mr. Davis, I just saw you about 2 weeks ago when you performed at the Shrine with Nina Simone, and I know you didn't say anything to anyone." And I said, "I'm just sort of surprised. Is there a reason for that?" And, this is when he had loads his, he could barely speak. He had really gravelly voice. And he asked me he gestured me to come down there so he didn't have to talk that loud. He says, "Well, the reason for that is," he says, "I come to play. I don't come to talk." And I said, "Okay, well, that's good enough for me. Thank you." But yeah, that was a very memorable moment. But yeah, there was a different. Richie Havens was another guy that I got a chance to meet and hang out with him. He invited me and a couple of his airline stewardesses to come see his show in London. And he was a really cool guy. He was another artist that I was familiar with. Mary Clayton, who was a really famous backup singer for the Rolling Stones, and a bunch of people. So yeah, I got a chance to meet some celebrities on my flights as well.
You are the author of The Fame Game, an insider's playbook for earning your 15 minutes, which is an extraordinary book that gives the reader a peek into your career working alongside legends. In Chapter 5, you talk about the staunch differences you experienced coming from Motown, which was a predominantly black company, to Rogers and Cohen, which was a predominantly white company. There's a quote from the book that I love. It says, "Not everyone is an enemy. Not everyone is an ally. If you want to survive and grow, you must learn to differentiate one from the other." Was there a time you mistook an enemy for an ally?
Um, I think everyone gets burned, by somebody that you might have had, you know, preliminary trust in and that you believed in, and then they kind of show their true colors. Speaking of race. But yeah, there were so I don't know if I got burned as much as I had doubts that were confirmed. Put it that way. Like I suspected that this person was not genuine, but I usually tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. And then if they showed their true colors, then I say, "Okay, you're exactly who I thought you were. So now I'll operate my operandum for dealing with you will be different. I'll adjust and take that into consideration. So I found that that happened several times while working at Rogers and Cowan, because what you find is a lot of people who will smile in your face will stab you in the back. So, and it's part of the business. It's not really just I think it happens throughout our society. It's a systemic problem. So whether you're in the entertainment industry, you could be in politics, you could be in anything, social services, it exists in every area of our society, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. One of the things that really impressed me about this book was your keen sense to details. I know Jennifer Lewis said that she used to keep journals, so this helped her when she was writing her memoir. Do you journal? Or how were you able to remember all of these events over the course of a 4-decade career?
Well, not that I have a photographic memory, but things that you write. And when I first got involved in the entertainment industry, it was from a writing background. So when you write something, I think it stays with you a little bit longer than it normally would if you just verbalize it. So a lot of the things, and a part of being a publicist and being a manager is creating. And so you have a creative, reservoir of information that came out of you. And so it's harder to forget that. And that helped me to have that instinct of just, being able to remember words or remember a campaign that I put together. But at the same time, like you said, it was a long time for some of the information in the book. And I realized that I was writing passages in the book and then that I thought I remembered correctly. And then I get to a place where I go, well, wait, that couldn't have happened there because I just said this. So then I'd have to go back and do all this research. And a couple of times I was like 2 years off, on different things that I thought, or, some of the stuff where I go into detail about the way that singles were released. I'd have the wrong single or the wrong timing of the thing. So I think the challenge of doing a book is trying to remember things that you think are valuable, that could be influential, but also you want to make sure that it's transparent, and more than that it's accurate. So it was challenging to maintain the accuracy of the book and the authenticity of the book, just because of the time span that I was writing it in comparison to the real time when things had happened in my career.
Rick James was 29 when he was signed to Motown. Was that considered old back then? And is there an age limit in today's society of launching a career in entertainment?
I would say that was at the upper threshold. I usually say you want to be signed when you're in your 20s. So 29, you're at the very cusp of, like, once you get 30, that's like being 50. But the way that labels look at this is, if we invest our money in this artist, when do we get a return on that money, and how long can we ride it? So when you're 29, it may take them 3 or 4 years to make you into a star. So now you're in your mid 30s, and then to really milk it, you gotta be even older. So now they're dealing with a 40-year-old artist. They've only started making money like maybe in the third or fourth year. So you have to look at that. That's why the earlier you are in your 20s, the better, because they can see, like, they can get that age group from 18 to say 35, or 21 to 35. Those are the people that are the biggest consumers of music. So that is a little bit on the edge. What Rick had going for him was he was an experienced musician, a very talented musician. So he had a great background. He had worked with the Minor Birds. He had done, worked in Canada. He had built a little bit he just wasn't a star, but he was a skilled musician. So he was bringing something to the table more than just, justified his age. He was bringing something to the table that could help market him.
Oh, that's a great point. Do you have an idea for a business, but bringing it to fruition seems so overwhelming? Look no further. Emboldened Consulting is a strategy and creative consulting agency that turns bold ideas into thriving ventures. When rebranding my podcast, Phase Place, I needed direction and someone who gets it. Who gets me? I tried Emboldened Consulting and was not disappointed. The results I received showed that there was close attention to detail and gave me insight of what I needed to make my business work. You have the vision. Let Emboldened Consulting help you execute the dream. Their services include strategic messaging and branding development, operational strategy, project management, and marketing campaign design. Email Jody Iyamu at emboldenconsulting.com. That's JODIIYAMU at emboldenconsulting.com to set up your consultation today. Use the code PhasePlace to receive a free consultation. Pursuing your dream is hard enough. You might as well look good while you're doing it. Like I always say, when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you do good. Embodied Apparel is all about doing good for the community. It provides quality statement apparel and opportunities for firsthand social and civic engagement. My favorite part is not only are the t-shirts soft and comfortable, but they are printed by Turn 90, which is a nonprofit that provides therapy and job placement to men creating a new direction after prison. Now that's a dream I can get behind. Shop now at embodiedapparel.com, and for a 10% discount on your purchase, please use the code PhasePlace. In Chapter 9, you say that fame is not a destination. After you achieve it and lose it, life still goes on. I was actually talking about this in a previous episode with a good friend of mine, Elijah Bailey, who was a guest on the show, and he's also a professional athlete. We were expressing that there is somewhat of an emptiness that you feel once you achieve your dream because you don't know what to do next. Reading your book helped me put things into perspective. One should seek out sustaining a successful career rather than fame. Can you share some skills that a person can work on to maintain success?
One thing I would just say on the other thing, I didn't completely answer your question. I don't think that the age range of artists has changed much from when I, started in the business. It's still pretty much in the 20s. I think there's a little bit more latitude, but not very much. It's still very much a young business. It's driven by young artists. So I think that still holds true. I think the most important thing to sustaining success is to have a vision and to have milestones within that vision that you want to try to accomplish. Because if you don't have a vision, then you're doing everything by the seat of your pants. You have to really plan ahead because you don't know. Everything that happens in our industry, in the entertainment industry, really takes so much longer than people realize. They all of a sudden they see somebody, and now with social media and everything, it's overnight. They think that this all just happened in a matter of days or weeks or whatever. Most of those people, even before they got popular on social media, they might already be in the business for 8 years and nobody had never heard of them.
Very true.
Having a vision and saying, okay, like step 1, step 2, step 3, what are my steps? And then I think once you get used to being in that you have fluidity and you're seeing progress. Then when that progress stalls, you still have something else out there that that's going to help balance the absence of quote unquote the fame that suddenly dissipates and disappears. Because it happens with almost everyone. Everyone in my book that I worked with, their fame dissipated at some point. Some of them tried to get it back and didn't. Some others were successful. But nobody stays at the height of fame throughout their entire career. I don't know any one artist that I've ever worked with or that I admire or respect who's been able to sustain their fame on the top for the life of their career. So I think having a personal life a foundation that you can rely on, where you're not just somebody else's, because really fame is a perception. However you look at it, whether you think you're famous or other people think you're famous, it's still a perception. So you have to have a perception of yourself above and beyond that's more powerful than whatever fame you get. And that comes from having a vision, a self confidence, and a vision on who you are, and that you can weather whatever comes your way. You'll find another way to achieve happiness or to be content, whether it's your family. Maybe when you're down on fame, you can be a better mother, or a better father, or a better sister, or a better brother, or, you'll fill that void so that you're not an empty person and you're looking for drugs or other things to fill that lack of, being up on a pedestal that we do with fame. That's what it does. It gives you a false sense of security, and it's unfortunate. And when you see people that it's most prevalent with, it just happens. You are going to fall off that perch, and some people adjust to it better than others. And some people, before they fall, they realize this isn't what I thought it was going to be, and I don't really like it. I don't want to be famous. So that can happen too.
Oh my goodness, all this is so good. It is so good. Now, when you're talking about planning and having a vision for your career, when is a good time for an artist to seek out a manager and or a publicist?
The best time is when you have value, because in our business, and particularly today with the music industry being the way it is, and the streaming services not paying artists, managers and publicists, they make their money off of success that they bring to a certain client. But that client also has to have something that they can market and promote. You can't just create something out of osmosis. So managers and publicists are looking for clients that are going to add something to their cachet value. They have stars, because we all judge, to me, our industry is based on charts, but it's charts for everyone. So managers are on a chart, agents are on a chart, lawyers are on a chart, artists are trying to get on the chart, and they want to stay in the top 10. And you only do that by surrounding yourself with other successful people. And that's, people want to stay in that, that collaboration mode of, we need to have a star female, we need to have a star this, a star that. And you get judged as a manager by, that's the first thing they ask you, well, who do you manage? And they judge you if you don't have any stars, then, oh, okay, thanks, well, see you later, So it really, I think artists have to understand that they have to bring something to the table, because the record labels, they're not developing artists the way they used to. Like, you get one or two songs to become quote unquote famous, and then they're on to the next artist. And when I came up in the business, people like Stevie Wonder, these people had like 3 or 4 albums. Labels were still working on them to, that just doesn't happen. Albums really don't even happen. So we've really come down to where you have to have hit singles in order to even get any attention, and videos.
Yeah, most definitely. I see that a lot, like you said, with social media. And speaking of success, you started off as a writer and publicist, but moved into management. Why did you decide to make this pivot?
Basically for more control and input. Because what I found was a lot of managers didn't have the creative background to bring their visions to fruition. And I thought I did. So, I got a chance to work with a lot of great managers, very talented managers that I respected, but I found things lacking in all of them that I thought I could be better at. And so when you're a publicist, you're the last on and first to go. Mm-hmm. And they come to you when everything else is already done, and maybe it wasn't conceived the way that it should have been. Like, they say, okay, we want you to help us make this artist a star, and they don't look right, they don't talk right, they're not good enough, the music's not good enough, so many of the steps that you want to create that ideal package, because nobody has the answer. I mean, we're all guessing. You hear a song, you think, I think this is a hit, and I think I've been very lucky in picking some songs, but I've also not thought there were going to be hits and they weren't. So I think that that's it is a guessing game. And at the same time, you want to rely on your instincts. And that's what that passion is. And as a manager, you can implement that easier than as a publicist. As a publicist, like I said, you might get a package that it seems great, but it's really not sellable. And as a manager, you can come in at the very genesis of the project. You can have an impact on who's the producers are, which songs make the record, how you how you launch and set up the marketing and everything. So I did it out of selfish reasons, but also because I thought if I'm successful, I'll make more money as well, because managers get a percentage of everything and publicists get a monthly retainer fee, and it doesn't matter how much influence you have on that artist. You get your your retainer fee, and that's it. So there's incentives to make you want to work harder when you're a manager than when you're a publicist.
Hi friends, it's Phaedra, and you are listening to Faye's Place. Join us each week as we talk to industry insiders about their journey and what it takes to turn dreams into a reality. Whether you aspire to be in the entertainment field or just inspired by the hustle, count this as your backstage pass. Join us every Monday for a brand new episode. And also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Faye's Place. Just turning the page for a moment here. In the industry filled with long hours and extensive travel, how do you balance scheduling time for the things and people that you love?
You got to put the people that you love number one. And sometimes in my own life, I wasn't able to do that all the time, but I'm definitely doing it now, and I have been doing it for a long time. It just takes lessons. The main thing is you don't live to work, you work to live. You got to work if you want to, but that can't be your sole, you can't be obsessed with it to that degree. There's certain things when you're younger where you think like, I want to reach a certain level of comfort before I think of having a family, think of getting married and all those things. And as you get older, and then you realize that, I've raised 3 kids. I've only got married once, but I got divorced. But there is no perfect time to do it all. It's never perfect. And so you find whatever you end up being when you decide that you're going to do this, you got to get that out of your head. It's because it's never going to be perfect, and you're going to find solutions if you stay on point and you're doing things out of love. That love, it has so much energy and fuel that keeps you motivated, and you can do a better job working than you can when you don't have that in your life, I think. When you only are thinking about yourself 24/7, you're not really getting a full sense of life. And that the love that you get from being a father, from seeing your kids, there's an enrichment process that happens, and that just motivates you even more. It inspires you to do more. It's really great to see that in young people, because I remember how I was when you see athletes or different artists and they become mothers or fathers, and they, all of a sudden your life is not dependent on just you anymore, because you have these other responsibilities, and that's kind of it's a God's blessing. I think when you realize that the most important part of life isn't what you get, it's what you give. And children, wives, and husbands gives you that opportunity to do that 24/7 every day. Like, how much can I love? And every time you think you have reached that point where I can't love anymore, there's always more you can give.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I totally agree. I love watching celebrities be parents. You see them much more calmer and understanding. It really is so beautiful to watch. Which brings me to my next question. What advice would you give to those who are aspiring to be on stage and those who want to work behind the scenes?
Dedicate yourself to honing your craft the best that you can, and to always realize that you never reach a level of your craft, no matter what it is, where you can't learn more. so that you have to be open to that. You have to be open to the fact that you can be better and that you want to be better so that you continue to push yourself and motivate yourself and you never become complacent and settle for mediocrity. That you always know, like, this was really good, but I can do better. And what do I need to do? Surround myself with people, or what do I need to do to make myself better at what I do? Because I think that's really the key. Even though it's an unfair business, and not the most talented people aren't always the most successful people. There's tons of artists, I can tell you, to me, they were really talented, but they never reached superstardom or fame. But they were really good at what they did. And there's a lot of, intangibles that are out of their control. But people that never took the time to hone their talents, they have less chance of achieving anything, even a mediocre level of stardom or whatever. So I think that's really the key, understanding that and challenging yourself. There's a lot of people that, because of social media, whatever, they've never even performed live. So they never really went out there, put themselves in front of an audience to just see what is that experience like. They'll release something on YouTube or whatever, but they're not committed to the artistry. It's music, entertainment, all of it is art form. And you're understanding your ability to, and that's the beauty of when you see really true artists, their souls are intertwined with what they're trying to do. They have something, a statement. They need this as part of their self-fulfillment. But it's the art. It's not the fame. And that's the one thing I think I would say, that's why I say don't chase fame. But if you can find comfort in your art form, then that's really a really big achievement. And that will continue to fuel your success or your commitment to it for as long as you want to do it. When you get tired of doing it, then it's cool. You can retire or whatever. But as long as you're going to do it, that commitment to the art form, I think, is the most important, regardless of what you choose, whether you're an actor, a musician, a producer, a songwriter, whatever. You just have to keep pushing yourself.
Yes, I totally agree. Personally and professionally, what are you currently dreaming of?
I have a couple of projects. I'm working on a second book that I believe in, and I got to get out there and sell it. I haven't finished it, but I've written a treatment, so that's something that's on my agenda, priority for this year. And then I have a couple of, I think you always have, or at least for me, I'll have a half a dozen creative projects that I'm trying to create. And and sometimes they're with people, and then you find out those people are not the right people and whatever.
Right.
So you take projects, you take care of them, and you inch them, and then you find out, okay, this is not going to really pan out. And as you get older, you can make a better assessments of which projects and how long you should invest in them. So I have a television project. I have a live project. I have my book. Yeah, so I'm active.
That's so exciting. So, for our listeners who want to purchase the book we were talking about today, entitled The Fame Game, an Insider's Playbook for Earning Your 15 Minutes, where can they purchase it, and where can they find you on social media?
On social media, I'm on Instagram, Trishmon. Trish is my middle name, and then M-O-N. And the book is available mostly now because the book came out in August of 2022. So this August, it'll be, 3 years old, 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still available on Amazon. And you can get it as a hardback book, a hardcover. You can get it as an ebook. There's an audio version that's available. Yeah, so I probably won't see the money, but if you're interested in reading, I hope I've gotten a really positive response on the book. It wasn't a bestseller, but I've gotten really great feedback, which is why I want to continue to write more.
Thank you, Mr. Hervey, for stopping by Faye's Place. You are welcome back anytime. And thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. If you enjoyed today's show and what we're doing on Faye's Place, please be sure to give us a great rating. We will be back next Monday with a brand new episode created with you in mind. I love you all for listening.
Take care.
This podcast episode was recorded with Riverside.